Tonight, we're going back to a case that shook America to its very core. A crime so shocking, newspapers called it the crime of the century. A crime that involved one of the most famous families in America, a mysterious ransom note, and a trial that captured the world's attention. But as we peel back the layers, this story isn't just history. It mirrors the fears and obsessions we still see in America today. This is the story of the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. It was 1932. Charles Lindbergh wasn't just a pilot, he was America's hero, the man who flew across the Atlantic alone. Newspapers adored him. Young men wanted to be him. Women swooned over him. Charles and his wife, Anne Morrow Lindbergh, had what many Americans thought was the perfect life: wealth, fame, and a beautiful baby boy named Charles Jr. But behind that fairy tale image was an undercurrent of unease. Charles was paranoid about threats to his family. Paparazzi hounded them. Their rural estate in Hopewell, New Jersey was meant to be a sanctuary. On the night of March 1st, 1932, that sanctuary was shattered. At around 9 p.m., the Lindbergh's nanny walked upstairs to check on the baby. What she found would change history. The crib was empty. The window was open. A homemade ladder leaned against the house outside, and on the windowsill, a ransom note. The note, scrawled in broken English, demanded $50,000 for the safe return of Charles Jr. Panic swept through the household. Charles Lindbergh, the national hero, now faced every parent's worst nightmare. Police swarmed the scene. Reporters gathered outside. The nation, already caught in the grip of the Great Depression, now turned its eyes on the Lindbergh tragedy. The kidnappers were clever. Always one step ahead. Notes appeared, each more taunting than the last, instructing Lindbergh to wait, to pay, to trust. The ransom was eventually paid. Bundles of marked bills carefully recorded by the authorities, but the baby was never returned. Then, on May 12th, more than 2 months after the kidnapping, a truck driver made a gruesome discovery in the woods not far from the Lindbergh estate. The body of Charles Lindbergh Jr. was found, partially buried, decomposed. The medical examiner confirmed the horror. The child had been dead almost from the beginning. The nation was heartbroken. What had begun as a ransom case was now a murder investigation. For 2 long years, the trail seemed to grow cold, but the police had a weapon: those marked ransom bills. They slowly began to surface in New York City, at gas stations, shops, banks. Every time, investigators traced them back, looking for a pattern. Finally, in 1934, one of those bills led straight to a German immigrant named Bruno Richard Hauptmann. When police searched his garage, they found more than $14,000 of the ransom money hidden in a wooden box. Even more chilling, the wood used to build the kidnap ladder matched planks from Hauptmann's attic. The evidence was damning. The trial of the century. In 1935, the trial began in Flemington, New Jersey. It was unlike anything America had ever seen. Thousands gathered outside the courthouse each day. Journalists from across the world packed the benches. The prosecution painted Hauptmann as a cold-blooded kidnapper, driven by greed. The defense argued he was framed, that the money had been left with him by a friend. But the jury was swayed by the physical evidence: the ransom bills, the handwriting analysis, the ladder wood. In February 1935, Hauptmann was convicted of kidnapping and murder. He was sentenced to death. A year later, despite appeals and pleas for clemency, Bruno Hauptmann was executed in the electric chair. The aftermath and legacy. The Lindbergh case didn't end with the trial. It left a permanent scar on America. Congress passed new laws making kidnapping a federal offense, giving the FBI power to investigate across state lines. Forensic science advanced. Investigators became more sophisticated, but the case also left behind controversy. Even today, some argue that Hauptmann was innocent, a scapegoat caught in a storm of public rage. Others insist the evidence was clear. The truth may never be fully known. But the epilogue, why it still matters. The Lindbergh baby kidnapping was more than just a crime. It was the first true media circus in America. Radio reports, flashing cameras, nationwide headlines. The template for every high-profile case that would follow, from O.J. Simpson to John Bennett Ramsey. It forced Americans to confront a terrifying truth. Fame doesn't protect you, wealth doesn't shield you, and even a national hero can't escape tragedy. And maybe that's why, nearly a century later, we still whisper about it. We still wonder about the unanswered questions, and we still feel a chill when we think of that empty crib, that broken ladder, and a note that began with, "Dear Sir, have $50,000 ready, Rezi." This was the story of the Lindbergh baby kidnapping, America's original crime of the century.